Welcome, welcome. I am sorry if the beginning of this was a little glitchy. I keep forgetting to change over to the right Wi-Fi. But we are here. I'm going to give everybody a minute. Let's make sure that people can actually join. Yes, there we are. Hello, welcome, welcome. I hope you guys are all having a great Friday. I wanted to show you guys, because I don't think I've shared this on Instagram yet, this altered crochet cropped t-shirt that I made out of my Death Before Knitting shirt, which I love. I've realized I really like the cropped style for t-shirts, but I don't want to have to buy a whole bunch of cropped t-shirts. So I'm going to crop them myself, and then I'm using that to help do the hem. And then the lovely space headband. So I'm feeling good today. It's a cute little outfit. Feeling cute. So all right. So super excited. This is Pink Sheep and Friends, episode 55, I think, which is so exciting. I'm just so thankful there are enough of you guys that want to come on and be a part of this, because I'll tell you, there are a lot of people who we have flies. It's summertime in Alabama. But yes, we are, there are a lot of people who, it's nerve-wracking to come on live. I know it's not as easy it wasn't easy for me, especially starting out. Dawn, you're too sweet. Thank you. Thank you. But I know that it's nerve-wracking, but I promise I try to make it as easy as possible. I just want the opportunity for you guys to meet new people, talk to new people. I know you're not actually talking, but, putting your questions in if you want to, and really just growing this community, trying to create that strength in our community, because that's what matters. Like, that's what gives us all that continued motivation and inspiration to keep creating. So I'm just appreciative that you guys are here and you want to join in and you want to listen. So let's get started. Today's guest, I'm super excited to be bringing on Katie of Yarn Lady & Co. And I'm going to go ahead and see. I believe I saw her join. So I am going to works easily. Technology is fun. Hello.
Hi.
So it did work. Okay, good. Oh. All right, I know, I've got to adjust everything whenever it changes over. It doesn't keep you in the same position when you join.
I'm in my kid's room where I painted a cloud on his wall, so I didn't even
Oh,
know
I
where to go.
love that. That's amazing. Is it just a cloud, or did you do like a whole mural?
It's like, it starts like his bed's in the corner here, and I just did it around his bed.
Oh, that's so cool.
I want to do more, but I don't know. I am ADD, so I'm all over the place.
That's really difficult. And I'll tell you, it's funny because when we moved into our first house back in Georgia, my husband was still traveling. And so when he was traveling, I could just take like a whole day while he was gone and I would paint a room, But now that we moved into this new house and we're both working from home, I think I've painted maybe half the house since we moved in. Because I'm like, I'm just going to get pulled in a million different directions if I try. I can't just take a whole day and paint a room.
We're in Georgia.
So we lived just south of Atlanta.
Okay, I'm in Moultrie. Have you ever heard of Moultrie?
It sounded familiar. My husband knew when he saw your profile, he knew because he used to work at all the cell tower sites in Georgia. So he knew like where all of the places were.
Oh, wow.
But we were in Stockbridge, which is between Atlanta and McDonough, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, we're like literally not even an hour drive from Tallahassee, which is past we're pretty close to the border.
Gotcha. Well, I'm so excited that you were willing to join me today. It means so much to be able to keep these going. And I would love if you want to just like a quick intro for anyone who hasn't met you. Maybe they're not following you here on Instagram, who you are and what you do.
So like I'm Katie.
Yeah.
I run Yarn Lady & Co. I've changed the name like 3 times, but I'm definitely settled on this one. I started out learning how to hand knit, like the big blankets.
Yes.
That was kind of what I first saw and I wanted to learn. And then basically on YouTube, I call it YouTube University. I learned
Yeah.
how to crochet. I was like crocheting dog, whatever you want to call these things.
Yeah.
But I was doing everything. I was sewing, I was macrameing. I mean, I literally wanted to do everything. And I had bought a couple of bear skeins from Knit Picks and just some dye. And I was like, I really want to dye yarn, if you know, not for anyone else, just for me, because I never thought anyone would want to buy it. And so when I got it, I literally stuck it in a shelf for over a month because I just was so afraid, you know. I'm like, do I want to do this? Like, what do I have to do? Am I really, you know? And I finally decided to get it out and started dyeing. And I showed it on my Instagram and I had like people wanting to order it, which, so I always say everybody that supports me really helped me to choose what I was going to focus on, because otherwise I'm going to be running around, you know, doing everything and never settling on something. So I dye yarn. We did move here a little over a year ago. So, sorry.
Are
We
you good?
here over with my husband a little over a year ago and trying to like reset things up. I was so used to doing it a certain way. It's been hard. I've probably taken about, I was off of Instagram for quite a long time. You know, I was just, it was beating me down. I was, you know, they changed with the whole, since TikTok came out, Reels became something.
Yeah.
I'm not a person, you know, and they weren't showing my stuff. So I got really discouraged and stopped.
Yeah.
But I'm back at it and I'm really excited. So
That's awesome. And where were you before you moved to where you are now?
I was in Johnson City, Tennessee. It's in the Smoky Mountains, really close to Asheville, North Carolina.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
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 So that was probably a tough move. I mean, like, even though it wasn't a super far away move, I think moving's always stressful.
Well, yeah, we were like, my mom, we actually wanted to be closer to family. And my mom was like, I'm moving down. We were talking about Tallahassee first. And we're like, oh, Florida, the beach. I want to be. And then, you know, it's just really expensive to live there. So if we were to get out on our own, I mean, we couldn't afford $2,000 for an apartment a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
House here in Moultrie. It's expensive to live here. I mean, everywhere. And so we moved in with her to save money. And living with your mom is not fun. So, yeah, there's been that, but Chris has like a wonderful job and he's moving up really quickly. And so we're going to hopefully be able to move in December.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm mentally just we need our own space. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And I feel like it's a lot because the home prices just skyrocketed. So for anyone who even was on the verge of like, maybe we can afford it now, like maybe now's the time before the prices went up. Now it's just out of reach, you know, unless you really, you know, I think we got lucky because we don't have kids. And so we didn't have to look at school districts. We could find something smaller. You know, it was a little bit easier, I think, for us. But for a lot of people, you know, when you're having to look at things like school district and location and, you know, if you have to travel to your job, I mean, there are so many things that make it even harder.
Yeah, and my son is on the spectrum, so, and he's epileptic, so coming to this small town that doesn't have any, you know, I have to drive everywhere. Things are fine, but the school was the most important, and I mean, I'm not by his school he's at right now. He's doing the best he can, but I'm struggling with communicating with them and them communicating to me, you know, like finding things out when I should have known sooner that he's telling them he doesn't want to read when I know he reads like a amazing, like he's such a good poem, you know, and I'm finding just a lot of things out that they need to communicate to me. So yeah, school, yeah, that's another thing too.
Yeah. Are you able right now to be home and do Yarn Lady & Co. as your full-time?
Yeah, I'm so lucky. But the thing is before I got pregnant, I was a server bartender, and
Mm-hmm.
all the time. That's just how I worked or not just weekends, but like holidays. Like
Yeah.
I'm a go person. I have to be doing something all the time.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
slow really hard for me. I'm not like, oh yay, I know I'm
Yeah.
be able to do this, but I'm just like, please, I can't just sit here.
Yeah.
I am, my mom, like I said, we're in my mom's home, and my husband, he works for Publix, and
Mm-hmm.
like,
That's a great place to work, though. I mean, that's, yeah.
because he worked for Walmart for like 4 or 5 years, they treated him like crap. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
worked for Home Depot. None of them I mean, you're the best worker we have, but yet we treat you like crap. But Publix
Yep.
immediately under their wing, and has like I said, he started in January. He's going to be taking his manager test in December. That's like 1 year.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, so I mean, I feel like we're finally getting there. But yeah, I am able to stay home with him, and I am very lucky for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Because I think that for anyone who wants to do something full-time, working from home and working for themselves and running a business, I feel like when you mentioned having that mentality of go, go, go and needing to be working, that's really a good thing for wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like if you have that hustle mentality of like always wanting to be like doing new things, and like how's that impacted you running this business?
I mean, it was great up until a little before we moved here. I think I burned myself
Yeah.
out. I was just like making collection after collection and pre-orders and all that. And it
Mm-hmm.
really hurt that in the way of like getting supply, getting the yarn supplies. I couldn't really do pre-orders anymore. So I had to like buy ahead of time and then not
Yes.
sell. But the pandemic was also like an amazing time of growth for me. People were more. But yeah, it's like, it's so like depressing to talk about it, but we got here. I have like it's not like a shed. It was built out there. It's not like one you buy from Lowe's, but there was a little shed
Uh-huh.
there, which I
Yeah.
to my yarn studio, and I was so excited about
Mhm.
it. And the Georgia heat is
Yeah.
insane. Like
Yep.
I have a unit out there, but I'm telling you, it's just the humidity ruins everything. We
Oh,
we drywalled everything except for the ceiling. We left that open because I was like, oh, it's open. It looks
yeah.
really pretty. And I wish it because bugs can come in, the heat comes in. So it kind of swayed me. I was just like, I don't want to die out there. And
Mhm.
then my mental health with living here, and I've gotten really depressed. I just started therapy because I've been just like, I could sleep all day. This is like not where
Yeah.
live needed to go, but I could sleep all day and all night. I just didn't know where to go. I'm just sitting
Yes.
there like head freaking out, and I just stopped everything.
Yeah.
So
I think this is, I think, you said this isn't where the live needs to go. And I think this is something, we chatted a little bit beforehand. And I'll tell you, I used to do like a Zoom call ahead of time to meet, but it was like trying to schedule multiple lives or multiple Zooms, and it has worked out to just go with it. And I think that's what's so great about these chats is it does just go where it needs to go. And I think people need to hear it because this isn't something you want to talk about on Instagram, and you don't want people to feel like you're just complaining, but this is real life. Like you moved, things are totally different. You have your son is going to have his issues and you have to be the mom. And I mean, I think people need to hear that this is the reality, especially if they want to try to run their own
yeah,
business.
I mean, because I'll tell you right now, I mean, I have over 10,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even get sometimes 50 likes on a picture.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Of course, I want people supporting me that want to be here with me, but I have to remind myself, like, numbers don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're that are succeeding and their Instagrams are not big. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
telling myself that, but I am a human being, and the numbers I mean, they get to me,
They do.
you know, but
Yeah.
so yeah, and the way, like my bit, I mean, I was doing really good, um, and I was really happy, but yeah, it's just life, I guess, hit me
Yeah.
and all that. So
And I think when it rains, it pours. It's never just one thing. It's always a combination of things that come at you at the
I'm
same
a
time.
true believer in that. It's like it's all gonna hit at once. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the things like you talked about before you even made the move that you felt like you had kind of gotten to a point where maybe you were going to feel a little more burnt out? And what were some of the things that maybe you had started doing either mentally or actionable things to try to keep yourself from feeling burnout? Were there things that you tried that maybe made you feel a little more inspired, or even therapy, like you said, now doing that? What are some things you've done to kind of help you mentally?
I will tell you, connecting, if you can find people on here
Hmm.
in your community that do what you do or in that
Hmm.
space, I'm not kidding you. Anytime I talk to some of my closest friends on here, I mean, it makes me feel so much better. Uh, so having the right community around you, having the right people to talk to for sure, really did it for me. And also going on, as sounds weird, like I purposely don't follow yarn dyeing accounts
Hmm.
because I don't want to ever get accused of stealing something. I don't want to see, something and like interpret. I don't want, that's something for me. But also because a lot of them are doing incredibly well, and the last thing I need is someone, you know, I don't know, that just knocks my confidence down. But I find inspiration in things from other art out there that
Hmm.
inspire me.
Yeah.
Color palettes from people that do mosaic tile work, or
Wow. Yeah. I
so
love that.
like looking on there at different art, getting out of what you're doing and looking at different things, like that makes me feel better too, gets me excited again.
Yeah.
So things like that, um, right at that moment and right now are kind of it. But they having people in your corner and looking outside of what you do, I think
Yeah.
kind of helps. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And I think too, reminding people that it doesn't mean that you have to have 30 people in your corner. Like just having a few, one, two, three solid people that you can reach out to and say, hey, I'm just kind of struggling with this. Like, are you struggling with this? Is this something we can, message back and forth about a little bit?
So it's so true. I'm telling you, sometimes Instagram got really toxic for me a little over a year ago, like before we moved,
Hmm.
like a year and a half. God, we've been here. It's probably like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It got
We
really.
moved right around the same time, it sounds like.
Did we?
Yeah.
Last
I mean, we,
February.
because it was like right towards the end of COVID still being really in your face, but it was kind of starting to taper off a little bit. We finally felt comfortable enough to like make the move and being around more people. Because I think this is our second year in the house ish. So like we moved right around the same time.
Like it, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it got really toxic. There are a lot of people that you think. I don't even know if I want to go into this either, but you always have to stay true to yourself and
Yes.
really genuine and you know not let I just people have it out for people on here.
Yeah.
People don't see other people succeed, and
Yeah.
they get that whatever it is when they hit a certain amount of followers, and then it's like anybody else I think I'm going to try to take down. And I experienced that, and I had never experienced that. And I had talked to people who had before when I was more new at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I've never done that yet, but like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And
Yeah.
whatever I can do for you. And but that was a big learning lesson for me too, that, I just had to be myself and
Mhm.
am who I am. And, it is what it is. And you just have to move on. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but sometimes I feel like Instagram, if I didn't need it, I wouldn't be on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of,
I
you know.
I think a lot of people feel that way. And I know for me, for instance, I don't have a personal Instagram account for that reason because, I spend enough time for
Yeah,
business.
totally.
And I think, you know, and I feel like I was kind of in your place. I haven't had any really, really big drama with the business at this point. Again, like knock on wood. But I think you hit the nail on the head of like you have to be genuine to who you are, if even if that means losing connections.
Yes.
Because if they have moved on to a point where they're no longer giving you the supportive energy, and that's something my husband said now that we have moved into. He just turned 40 this year. I'm 36. And we're at that point where it's
I got
we,
this.
yes. And I can't chase after relationships.
Mm,
It's a give and take, and you can't always be the one trying to make things work. You have to let go of toxic relationships, and it's okay to block people if
yeah,
it's a problem,
it's
and move on.
okay.
Yes.
And I don't want to be the mean person. It's like I've talked to people who are like, oh, I just don't want to start anything. And I'm like, look, when it's affecting you and your mental health on a daily basis, that's they're not your friend. And if they're going to do that, they're going to do that regardless of what you do. Like you have to realize too, people are going to do what they do, think what they think, no matter how much you try to explain the truth to them, or no matter how oh my god, I can't even talk, or how much you or how much you want to them to understand. People just do what they want to do and think what they want to think, and if you have to cut somebody out, you have to, and that's okay if that's for you.
Yes. And there are so many people on this platform
Mm.
that cutting out one person that is causing you to have negativity, you have so many people you can focus on.
Yeah.
Like that's always been my thing when I get down about numbers. And I'll tell you a quick story that I had a post where it was just like a slider
Mm-hmm.
post, like so it wasn't a reel, which I knew it might not do well. And I posted it outside of the regular time frame, that Instagram tells me to, and it performed so poorly that I archived it. I felt so bad about it. Like it just got to me. And I was like, obviously this post just sucks. And I
Right.
archived it. And when those kinds of things happen, I have to just mentally say, I need to refocus on what matters, and that is the community that's always here. I don't care if it's only 5 people that comment regularly on my posts, they're who matter.
Yes. Oh, I went with that too. It's like exactly, and I always would tell myself too, I've kind of gotten out of it, but I would try to be like, Instagram is your journey.
Yeah.
Instagram is what you're doing at that time that you want to share with people that follow you, so it's not about the numbers. I know we want the numbers, but it's okay to show something and not get a lot, because if that's where you're at and that's what you want to share and that's what you're proud of, do it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know? Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you've done for your business outside of Instagram when it comes to marketing? Are there other platforms that you've used and liked? Are there other, do you do email marketing? Like what are some things that you've done outside of just Instagram? Or is that it?
I want to do Pinterest. I hear that's a really great
Uh-huh.
place, Instagram that will help. I want to do email stuff like if I could explain to people, me being where I'm at today in my business still blows my mind. I'm just
Yes.
the heck with the craziness going on. You're just
Mhm.
randomly doing things. There's no rhyme or reason, like how it's happening,
Yeah.
but it's happening. And I always say, I'm like, can I please just find someone to do the business stuff and let me do the creating
I
stuff
know.
for that. So it's, and I think that's a part of like mentally where I'm at too. Whether it's my ADD or whether it's because I'm so depressed right now, I cannot find the motivation. I'm like, I write lists all the time. I'm like, yeah, and I
Yeah.
get really excited about it, and then I get up and I'm just like, meh. So I to anybody out there doing a small business, do these things, do things outside of Instagram. I try to push myself to do it, but I don't. And I do believe that's why I'm kind of stuck where I'm at, you know, because I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I can't organize this stuff
Yeah.
for squat. Even if you
Yeah.
tell me what to do, I'll still be like, oh, okay, what
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. 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 I totally get it. And I think too, some of it is just getting over the hump of actually starting something in the first place. When you're starting from
Yes.
scratch, you know, and I think that was where I was at before I started my YouTube channel. It felt so overwhelming because I was like, I had a YouTube channel that existed because it was part of, you know, a Google account that I already had.
Right.
And it was full of like gymnastics videos because I coached gymnastics years ago.
Yeah.
And so I had to go in and like clean all that up and then like post my very first video, you know, that was yarn and had, you know, maybe 30 followers on YouTube. And the point of starting YouTube is getting monetized and you have to get like 1,000 watch hours.
Right.
And it just feels overwhelming, you know?
Yes.
Yes. And then you're like, what's the,
Yes. Yes. Oh, bless you. Bless you for
yeah.
you're amazing. You created quite the brand and the community and stuff. And you're just such a nice breath of fresh air. You know, you're not so many accounts give off, I'm just in it for the money and you'll never really know who I am and not relatable, you know, and I just everything's perfect, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
your Instagram is a representation of you and that says a lot, you know, so
And
good for you.
it's definitely my goal, and I couldn't do it without, like you were saying, how finding people to support you and push you. And you know, I know for me, it was with my YouTube channel in particular when I was feeling overwhelmed of like, what's the point of me doing? Like, I'm never going to reach monetization. I'm never going to be able to post as many times. And I had it was oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their names now. They do a YouTube live every Saturday morning, and it's two ladies in the yarn community, and
I can't think of their
Ginger
names.
and Kim. Ginger and Kim. So they do their lives, and I started joining in just to kind of like listen in, and they really like rooted me on of like, just start going live. Like,
Yeah,
that's how you're going to get your hours.
yeah,
Like, commit to going live, and you know, even if you only have a couple people, and then you know, film videos here and there, but like having even like one person in your life that's kind of rooting you on and supporting you and like, you can do it, you know, it's going to take a while, but I promise, just stick with it, you'll get there, you know. And you
yeah,
need that because again, it is an isolating world. If you are, even if you're just working from home, like maybe you don't run a small business, maybe you just, because of the pandemic, maybe you started working remotely,
mm-hmm.
and it can be really isolating. And so you have to make the effort to keep those connections alive with people online, to have that feedback, you know, so that you don't feel alone.
Yeah. Well, and not even just online, just, you know, like, I realized I went driving at night once and I was like, holy crap, I haven't been driving at night and I couldn't tell you how long. Like, do
Yeah,
I leave my house?
right.
I mean, seriously. And then, you know, I find a grown up somewhere and I'm just yapping at him. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have nobody to talk to. Like, I'm
Yes.
that old person already that's like, yabba, 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 because my
Yeah.
7-year-old and I can't talk and my husband and I can talk. However, he's a
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
sometimes you need a female perspective. So, yeah. Or like,
Yeah.
we live near the hospital and I was always driving a certain way because we had one car and I was taking him to work and then he started taking it. And I was driving that one time and I was like, holy crap, they built a whole building right here. And I didn't even
Yeah.
know it because I haven't left my house. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, like, my husband and I are definitely homebodies. So that doesn't help with,
So,
you know,
mhm.
being, and someone just said, Coffee Girl 44, I'm having these same issues. Thanks for the topic. And see, that's again,
Yeah,
that's why I try not to put topics on these
right.
because it just goes where it needs to go,
Oh,
which is really nice.
Pebble Zone grown up talk, especially
Yep.
with yarn. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, got you.
Exactly. And I think it also boils down to making friends as adults is really hard. I just had this conversation
Yes.
you know, I had a friend, have a friend now who met online through Instagram, and I didn't realize how long she had been following me.
Hmm.
And turns out we both now live in the Birmingham area and have become in-person friends. Now we have different schedules, so we can't hang out as much as like I would like. I'm like, just come over, you know. um, but we just went to a Birmingham Barons game yesterday with them, and like our husbands get along, which like, you know, is really hard to find where like everybody gets along. Neither of us have kids.
Oh,
And so
perfect.
it's so hard to do that though, you
Like
know?
dating scene where they're like, you don't want to start over because it's like, where do you live and
Yeah.
what do you do for work? That whole joke of it, but it's like that starting from scratch and being
Yeah.
like, yeah, because I moved around a lot. Like, I went to one, two, three, four, five, six, probably like 8 schools.
Wow.
Two
Yeah.
were went to 2 different ones in college, but I was really good at making friends, was
Hmm.
not keeping friends
Yeah.
because I had to move so much. So for me, I've got like 2 friends that I know from, when I was younger that we
Hmm.
keep in touch, but it doesn't matter. Like we're still great friends. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. Talk to each
Yes.
other nice. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust people too now. I mean,
Yeah.
especially my husband, he don't trust anybody.
Same.
Okay. He
They would
like,
you,
he's very
you
protective.
really have to, he's good at reading people, my husband is, and I think the hardest thing is if someone does give him a reason to not trust him, or you kind of can't recover. And I wish it was that easy for people like
Yeah.
us, you know, like where I think there are personality types that it's easy to be like, no, like I'm done. Like we're just not going to hang out anymore. And I think and I have to say, sometimes I think sometimes it is women or people who are a little more empathetic.
Mhm.
Like you want to give people chances and opportunities and the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes that can be really sapping, you know? I mean, like it just takes it out of you because you're trying to be the giver and be
Well,
like, you know, it's,
people pleaser, you know.
yeah.
And the funny things for me, actually, I'm actually a lot like a guy in that there are levels of things that you do where I'm like, okay, like I don't trust you or whatever.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
but as women, when we are done with something in general, we're done with it though. You know what I mean? It may take a while to get there,
Yes.
but done, I'm done. Um,
Yeah.
is I have this issue with my mother and our
Hmm.
where it's like I protect her, I give her all these reasons and stuff, and I know it's like toxic and not a healthy
Yeah.
relationship. And
Yeah.
my step in and be like, Katie, you don't have to put up with this,
Yeah.
but because I'm a giver, I keep.
Family's hard. Family's really hard. Family real. I mean, and again, that could be a whole nother
Yeah,
shebang.
random. But
Well,
yeah,
how has it been? You know, I think this is something a lot of people face when they're not working a traditional job. How has family specifically, and maybe some closer friends, do you feel like that has been a supportive situation, or do you feel like that has been difficult for you with running your own business and, you know, trying to be, I guess, excited and proud of what you do? And how has that been for you?
I'm lucky. Um, they're all very supportive. They're like they actually get mad at me because they're like, you're so hard on yourself. Like I'm such a perfectionist, and they're like, I wish you could see how I see you, and
Hmm.
they are so talented, and you really are so creative, and I just wish you'd give in to that.
Yeah.
However, I, my mom, you know, it, not too much now, but in the beginning was it was like she would be supportive, but it would be passive
Like
aggressive. Yeah,
underhanded, kind of.
like something good would happen for me, and she would be like, "Oh, but are you sure that blah blah blah?" But oh, that's great, and
Yeah.
and there, it went a lot deeper. So, I mean, I think a lot of that's tied to her and me
Yeah.
to make her proud
Yes.
and wanting her to like you know, what I do and be proud of me, because my mom
Yeah.
was growing up. She's a single mom, worked her butt off.
Yeah.
Yes, her everything, but she was a strong woman, and I looked up to her, and I'm like, I want to be like that. Like,
Yeah.
she's a workaholic too. Now I see it as a 43-year-old mother, and I see that it's an issue. You know, you don't want to be someone who just works and can't
Yeah.
find balance.
Yes.
That's what I work on. But I mean, back to the supportive, I've been so lucky. I really
Yeah.
have. Um, but that sometimes makes it harder, you know. Sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel like I owe things, you know, if it doesn't go this way. And um, but I do. I'm a lucky person. I am.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's so interesting, this idea of wanting, no matter where you get in your life and how strongly you feel about what you do, this idea of wanting your parents to be proud. And the more I talk to different people, I think no matter what the relationship is, it's still there under your skin. Like it doesn't matter how much you've like, if your relationship isn't that great, if people have kind of allowed themselves to create healthy boundaries, it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you just want them to be proud of you. And it's like, why? I mean, I know it's just because you're parents, but I think a lot of us feel that.
Yeah, and she said, someone said my biological father exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for you, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
supported.
Yeah.
But you were saying, so I, because of my husband, have really been able to put down healthy boundaries.
Yes.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
my mother doesn't. I've had to be the grown up with her quite a bit, you know, and I'm trying to teach her about boundaries, and that even in family, it is okay to put them down, and that doesn't mean I don't love you any less. But just because you're my mom doesn't mean you can treat me that way,
Yeah.
or you know.
Yeah.
So boundaries are a must. Healthy boundaries are a must for anybody out there, and it is okay to set those.
Mm-hmm. And it might take time. I think it takes time, and sometimes you have to get to like a point of no return. I know that happened with me with my parents. There was a moment in our life that was just over the edge, and I said, "We're done." Like, if we can't do something right, we're done. And it was really hard because I didn't talk to my parents for about 3 years, I think. Um, but then it was time at that point, and I regret not being able to see them, but I don't regret making the decision because it's how we got to where we are. And I think it's hard because there's this push and pull of this is my child, but seeing you as a child when it's like, no, we're adults now,
Yeah,
and I support myself. I have a grown up relationship,
yeah,
so there has to be some kind of respect there
yes,
of like we're all adults now.
totally. I totally feel you. Are you and your parents okay now? Is that what you were saying?
We're in the best place we've been in a long time, which is
Yeah.
great. And I lost my mom at a young age, and so my dad had got remarried, and so that's always messy. I'm very thankful to the positives that my stepmom brought into my life, him and or she and my dad are very happy, and so I have to be happy for that. Like that's the point. You guys chose to be together.
Yeah.
And again, just having the adult
Mm-hmm.
respect. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
respecting their relationship and expecting the same, and like, being able to, I think the hardest thing is like trying to have hard conversations, and I know that even if there's things that my parents did that made me feel less than, or, maybe they said things that felt hurtful to me, I don't think I'll ever get an apology for that. But it took me, again, like, I knew that wasn't going to happen. And so I had to make that hard decision of like, well, we have to do something different. And I think, again, like, the more I talk to people, everybody's got issues, whether it's family or friends or kids, and I think a lot of us feel like you can't talk about it. But like, once you do, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going
Like,
through the
oh,
same thing.
Ed, I'm like, oh my God, did I say too much? No,
Yeah.
and you know, going along with what you were saying, it's, you know, you're not going to get us apologies, but I really do believe in forgiving yourself. Like, you're not doing it for them. You know, this isn't about them getting away with something or not getting away with
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
You move on and leave that behind because it's not doing anything
And
for
we're
you
not
anymore.
here long enough
No,
to hold grudges and
sure. It's so true. No, so I feel you 100%.
Well, I would love to know if you, when you were growing up, did you have this like crafty gene? Where did you ever see yourself being in the creative world as an adult with that being your career? Like, what did that look like growing up for you?
My mom, my dad was a musician and like an abstract artist.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, well, he was a hot mess, of course. He was never,
But you had that influence.
yeah, he was never around. But and then my mom, she's a graphic designer. So I always would talk about this push and pull of having this abstract, like kind of like laissez-faire, I don't know, attitude,
Mm-hmm.
a really regimented way, because I could never do graphic design. Like, you don't get to be creative. You have to do what other people tell you to do, you know, and no matter what you think. So I don't know how she does that.
Yeah.
But I was always drawing, painting, anything I could find, I would paint. I was very like creative and crafty. Um, but I always, when I grew up, I wanted to be an actress. I always thought
Oh,
like this. I always thought it was going to be this big thing in the world, whatever it was going to be. That I
yeah.
just had this personality for it. Um, Obviously, I'm not, but yeah, I've always been really super creative. I've
Yeah.
been my outlet for sure.
Did you do theater as a kid? Like, did you, no?
No, I just, if I could, like, just one really quick story.
Yeah.
We lived on the street. I lived on the street growing up, and like 3 or 4 houses down, these people owned a pool.
Uh-huh.
And my mom said, I was like 9 or 10. She said, I just walked down there, knocked on their door, and said, I'm Princess Catherine, and I'd like to use your pool. Like, that was the kind of kid I was, you know. You either loved me or you couldn't stand me as an adult. I had a lot of adults that could not stand me because I was just so crazy and out there and weird, you know what I mean? Which that did hurt, but I've grown to love it, and I love that
Yeah.
about my. But yeah, I've always been like that, so I just thought big dreams, I guess.
Yes. I mean, I think that's so interesting, especially having, because when I was little, I don't think I had like I'm going to be this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I really knew.
Yeah.
I do think at one point I wanted to be a country singer.
Well,
So
there you go.
there is a little, you know.
Wish I could sing. I wish I could sing. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty mediocre,
are you?
but you know, I would rock the little microphone that made your voice echo. You know,
Oh,
one of those.
man.
Hmm.
I carried around one of those things. I did. Oh, yeah, karaoke and all that stuff. Yeah.
Uh, well, I think you know, I don't want to keep you too long either. I don't know if you have to go.
Whatever you want.
Um, okay, cool. Yeah, we have about 15 minutes. Um, so I would love to know, because you spend all of this time now dyeing yarn and working with that. Do you do you spend any time working on like personal projects, or is that something you'd like to do more, or what does that look like?
You know, going back to depression, I used to like knit every night, crochet every night. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe I started and never finished them, but I still
Yeah,
would.
that's okay. Yeah.
Um, but that's when I knew like I was in trouble. Is like it's hard for me to even bring myself, or was, to bring myself to do the things that gave me like joy, that brought me joy, that kept me from having anxiety and depression. Um, I'm starting to find my way back to that.
Mhm.
So that's good. I have picked up in everything. Um, I'm just, I guess I do personal projects, like if people like for presents sometimes,
Yeah,
you know,
gotcha. Hmm.
food and, you know, I did this huge wall hanging for my mom. I did a macrame wall hanging. It's like 4 foot,
Wow.
but I still have,
And
it's pretty much done, but I still have to like finish it's been months. Like
yeah.
that is me. Look, y'all, I'm telling you, I am the starting things and never finishing them, and it drives me crazy. Like, help me with that. But I mean,
Did you did you learn macrame on YouTube too? Like, was that all? That's amazing.
I'm telling you, and I also tell anybody listening this, everything I ever saw, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Not like, oh, I can do that. You know, I would see people doing things. I'm like, oh, I love that. I want to do that. Right?
Yeah.
Looks like, not saying, oh, it looks easy. No, being like, oh, it looks like it's something I could do. I'm gonna tell you, every time it is the hardest thing I've ever done. They make it look easy.
You earn a lot of respect. Like you get a lot of respect
Yes,
when
yes,
you see what it takes.
it really,
Yeah.
honestly, and I have so.
Yep.
I mean, the people that make it look easy are the people that are really good at it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And I've worked really hard.
Yes.
I think sometimes we forget to,
Yep.
tell people like good job, even from like a stranger of
Sorry to interrupt, but like
no, you're good.
we were all beginners too.
Yeah.
Just telling, like, you look at things and you're like, oh man, like, or you, people are like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. And I'm like, you could, it's really easy. And then I remember it took me 6 months to learn how to knit. And I had to
Yeah.
I put down this hat 3, 4, 5 times and step away from it, so
Yes.
angry. And now curling it, how could you not understand it? I was there once too. I did not understand it. It's like, you gotta remember that too,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to not enjoy it. I mean, try something new and not enjoy it. That's fine. It's not that you're a failure. It's just that's not the craft for you, you know?
A lot of my dyes too, like a lot of some of the most popular colorways came from things that I thought I'd messed up, but they loved,
Uh-huh.
so that's why I'm like, please, it's okay to fail, and it's okay to make an ugly whatever it is, you
Yeah.
learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had a set of hooks that we made, and it was like this silk filament that created an ombre effect for all the hooks. So like some of them were like this beautiful like red to gold or like purple to gold or purple to red and like these really pretty shades. And then we had these couple of them that were just like baby poop green. Like they just, my husband was like, they're not going to sell. Like these are
Yeah.
so ugly. And they sold the
Yeah.
fastest.
I love that color. I'm a like golden ochre,
Uh-huh.
all the baby.
Yep.
I know.
Yep. And that's what I think we all, you have to remember too, like, and I heard this a lot when I was reading about like branding yourself, like how to brand your business and market your business is you have to remember that your customer might be similar to you, but they're not you. So you have to learn who they are, and they may have different tastes in certain things. And I felt like that made that clearer to me. It's like just because I don't like it doesn't mean that my
Yes,
ideal customer isn't going to be like, oh, that's
that's
amazing.
a big lesson I had to learn, because also in the beginning, especially when you're doing markets and you have to pick the things you're going to make and take, you're like,
Hmm.
great. I think this is horrible, but the horrible thing is what, you have to get over your own pride, I guess, for it, because I was wrong so many times on what I thought was better than something else. And that's fine. But that was a big
Yeah.
lesson I had to learn too. And, as far as you saying that, understanding who your customer is, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I think, but sometimes I think it depends what business you're in for when that's super important, because I find for me, when I'm trying to make other people happy, that's when I struggle and that's when it's not as great. But if I just stick to what I'm doing and I
Hmm.
trust my instincts, that ends up doing better.
Yes.
So for me, I've got to just trust in what I'm doing, and
Yes.
that's who my customer is because they like that stuff. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yes, it's a balance. That's what I have found, especially with things like markets, which I don't do those
No,
anymore. So now it really is
nope.
just like if I make a design, I'm going to do a design because I like it. And if I don't sell any, that's fine. It's out there forever. Styles change. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. The first market I ever did was before I was dyeing yarn. I was making baby stuff. I
Yeah.
was doing felt, what do you call those things in the crib that hang over the crib?
Oh yeah, the mobiles.
Yeah, I was
Hmm.
making like sticks and doing felt cut out
Wow.
mobiles.
Yeah.
I was doing wooden teethers. I was doing freaking prints, cards. I mean, let me tell you, I was doing everything. So
Mhm.
trying to move all that out there,
Yeah.
I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry, cry, cry. I'm
Hmm.
like, I can't do this. And, you know, I did fine, but it was not worth
No.
all of that. Now that I dye yarn, I can do markets. It's a lot easier of a thing, right? It's just one thing. But if you don't, if markets are your thing, that is great. Do them. If they're not,
Mhm.
that's okay too. You don't have
Yes.
to do what you don't want to.
Exactly.
I,
Exactly. I agree. They're not for everybody.
no, no, no.
And it depends on where
That
you live. I mean, that's a big part of it too. Like, do you have the customer support? You
that
know?
understand what it is, because I'm gonna tell you, my market here that I did actually do one here just to get out there for yarn.
Yeah.
I'm in a place where people have never heard of such a
Yeah.
thing. They're like, what is this? They thought it was a rag doll. They thought it was a dog toy. Literally, they could not understand, which is
An
fine,
expensive dog toy.
seriously. And I'm like, I don't have the time or resources to teach them about what this
Yeah.
is, you know. But that's what you have to do for certain things, and if you're up to it, that's fine. But like, I need to find a place. Like, there's a yarn store in Thomasville that I love. It's called the Fainting Goat.
I, I think I've heard of that one.
And I
Yeah.
there when we first moved here, and we're gonna get some yarn in there. Like, I could still be doing that. I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, but people around that area probably know more about
Yeah.
yarn, so that's where I would do the
Yeah.
market. But yeah, it just, people there wanted signs and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I understand.
Mhm.
Yep. And I think it is, talking about, you said right now that you're still in a place where like things are a little rocky at times. And I think, I've always said you have to give yourself grace. You have to take it a day at a time. And, just because you don't feel like doing it today, it doesn't mean you won't feel like doing it tomorrow, and it's just each day is a new day to like get up and figure out what's going to bring you joy that day.
Yeah,
And I think it's important, like you said, that you are willing to like go to therapy if that's something that you feel like is going to help. I
I
think that's
therapy.
the destigmatization of getting help if you feel like you need it, if you're struggling, asking for help, I think is really important. Because that's a big step, to be like, I've got a problem and I'm struggling to fix it myself. Yeah.
No, I didn't like people. Therapy is not what people think it is. You know, it's not.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm.
Okay, this is so cool though. My therapist, she just learned the blast technique, and it's
Uh-huh.
EMDR. I think that hypnosis kind of stuff. I think it's like
Oh,
that, but different. It's
yeah.
like it helps you. It helps you get past your trauma faster,
Gosh.
apparently. But they also, it works with other things too, and that's what I'm excited to try. I don't even know where I was going with that, but therapy is so different nowadays, and it's just worth a
Exploring.
try. It's expensive, well,
Yeah.
like, but I love it. I love
Yeah.
therapy so much. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I think it's exploring what and who are out there,
Mm,
like I think remembering that you have choices and that the first person you go to, if you don't have a good experience, doesn't mean
yeah.
that every experience will be negative.
Okay.
Um,
No.
yes.
Yeah.
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 And I mean, it's the same thing with doctors. Like, I mean, I think anytime anything in the healthcare field, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, you have to really do your own homework, and sometimes it's going to be hit or miss. And don't give up, to get what you need as a person.
Absolutely. I have to be the advocate for me and my child, because they're not,
Hmm.
I mean, we here in Moultrie, unfortunately, they have, I mean, we have this huge hospital. We have all these like places for healthcare and stuff, but I'm already having to move him. My mom's having to move to a different one. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
But that's probably another thing that is in my mind constantly. I'm just thinking about all these things I want to take care. I think about him constantly, you know what I mean? Um, him getting what he needs, and
I feel
but
like that's probably a big part of that because I mean, I think it takes at least a year to even get comfortable in a new city.
mm,
And when you have all these other things happening, it takes longer than that. So I think it's just finding your footing, like getting everything, in perspective and in focus and like finding the right people to support you in person and online. And, it's, I think it's one day at a time.
but it is
And breathe, breathing.
hard. It's hard. I guess, you know, if you don't feel guilty if you need to take time, and
Yeah,
don't feel guilty if you think it's only a day, but it's a week. I
yeah,
mean, just don't sit in it too long,
yeah,
talk to me. Like, feel it, sit in
yep.
it, get angry about it, whatever you need to do, but you can't sit in it
No,
too long.
you can't. That's when it gets toxic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so, so thankful that you came on today and we're willing to be honest and chat. I mean, again, these are some of my favorites when things just kind of go where they need to go because I can go down a list. I mean, I have plenty of questions I can ask about what your favorite hook size is and what your favorite yarn weight is and where you like to go shopping. But like, it's so much more real when it's like, let's just talk about real life, like what's happening,
You're real good at this. You should. I'm so glad to do this show, and I'm so grateful you asked me to be on it. I really enjoyed it, and maybe we can do it again. And you can ask me all those other things that are
Yeah.
circling. Maybe people want to know about that, and they don't want to know about my trauma with my mother. You know. But no, I'm just.
and
But
and I would definitely have you back on. I think that's kind of my goal is as I'm reaching out, I'm always bookmarking people to reach out to and talk to, but I actually have someone, her name's Madison from Stellar Threads. Is that right? And she had joined me maybe a couple months ago. She's going to come back on because she's got a new, something new that she wants to announce and talk about on the show. And like,
cool.
we can chat about that. So like, it's really like meeting people back, in a couple of months and see where you're at and like, how are things going, especially with you, like, where will you be in, a couple of months with your business and your life and how things are going. And I think like the check-ins
Yes.
are fun as well.
Listen, my favorite shows, whatever HGTV, whatever they are, I love a check-in. I want to know what's happening
Yeah.
3 months down.
Yes.
So I would.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we talk a lot. I mean, the whole goal of starting this was community. I want people to get to know other people who are in your community. Maybe you found your person. Like there are people who are going to want to connect with you because you were willing to be honest. And I think it's doing it. I hadn't seen anything like it. And so I was like, let's run with it, see if people enjoy it. This is episode like 55, so I mean,
So awesome.
I think it's going okay.
So proud of yourself. And I want to do to anybody, that was in here. My DMs are always open. I have many, many conversations with people that, for whatever reason it is. So don't be afraid to ever reach out to me, just, for whatever.
Yes, yes. Well, if anyone missed this video, if you came in late and you want to watch the whole thing, it will be posted on my feed. As soon as this is over, I go ahead and post it there. And then I do have a whole YouTube playlist that is all of the past episodes. So if you want to, get to know some other people in our community, if you need something to binge, listen to, or watch while you're crocheting, that is an option over on my channel. This may be available this afternoon. If not, it'll be like a day or two before I get it posted on YouTube. But that lives over there as well. And I think I've booked out through July. So we will definitely have Pink Sheep and Friends every Friday for the next couple of weeks for sure. So I hope you guys will join in. And Katie, just thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you have a great weekend. And again, day at a time.
Yeah.
Yes. You got this. Everybody listening too, you got this.
Everyone that came in and joined, and I'll just talk to you soon, I guess.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy hooking.
Bye. 4th.